This changes everything. Digital Extremes is making massive changes in the right way, from reworking shield gating, companions, and even a useless Warframe like Hydroid. What's good, folks? It's Nightmare Frame here with a new Warframe video, taking a look at the recent Devstream. Now, all these amazing changes are coming with the October 18th update called Abyss of Dagath. Let's start with the new Warframe coming with the update. Dagath. Her abilities have decent synergy and dealing a lot of damage, also memeing on Inaros. She's also coming with a new blade and whip, but unfortunately no news on there being a new stance.
Her first ability is word sights. This is a radial from you. You're getting these kind of spectral sights that will target enemies. So you can see here, you can cast it, you'll get a big spin of those word sights, dealing damage, targeting enemies, and then flying off. So this is kind of your initial damage
viral
burst
proc
with
there.
her, where you'll be getting those word sights.
And giving viral.
And viral damage type, yes.
Okay. Oh, so it's like a primer.
Once you cast Doom, it's going to be a cone in front of Dagath, and it's cursing enemies. So these enemies are doomed. The curse lasts a duration.
Okay.
And these cursed enemies get what we're calling the Phantom Wrath curse. So she has a cone in front of her.
Okay.
She's hitting enemies with Doom. If you hit your your word scythe on them, it'll do additional damage. It'll do more instances of that Phantom Wrath curse.
Okay, so it's like a
sickle over their head that does additional damage instances.
It's like
so
Seven
once you see that
Gods
sickle
combo
above their head on those doomed enemies, as you're hitting them with their word scythe, you're really going to be spreading a curse and delivering continued damage in the form of Doom and in the form of that word scythe. We have Grave Spirit, which is kind of her damage buff and survivability ability.
Oh,
so Megan,
damage and survivability.
You have your Grave Spirit
65%.
on. If you die while this is active,
I'm trying to die.
So Megan has died. She's now taking a spectral form, which is a instance in where you're kind of truly a grave spirit. This has a timer, and then once this wears down, you will have this ability on cooldown. So this is very much a, while you have it active, if you were to face death, you will enter this grave spirit realm, and then you'll come back, and then that ability is on cooldown.
Okay.
However, with grave spirit, you get crit damage buffs. So you are doing increased critical when you have it active, and if you're hitting enemies with that Phantom Wrath curse, which is achieved via the Doom ability, it's that big build synergy. So you want to Doom them. You want to have your 3 up, which is called Grave Spirit, and you're just kind of going to be cycling through, keeping that active.
No, you don't purposely die.
Crit,
when it's active, you give the crit damage buff.
And then your 1 is obviously going to cascade damage in all that rotation. This is called Rakali's Cavalry, which, why don't you just hit it up? Summon a charge of caves. Rakali was Dagath's loyal companion.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah. When you cast Rakali's Cavalry, if you hit enemies that have that Doom curse, you're going to be doing defense stripping. You're going to be doing additional damage instances with that word
stripping.
scythe
You hear that?
So you're really going to be
defense stripping, meaning shields and armor.
Seeing all these enemies, you're going to be charging the cavalry through them to do lots of damage on multiple hits.
Okay.
You're going to be tearing down their defenses. You're going to be spreading that curse, which is really important to the gameplay. Is if you kill an enemy while the curse is active, there is a spread mechanic. And yeah, you're just going to be tearing through enemies.
And the passive?
Oh yes, her passive.
Okay, what is her passive?
We have a name for it, which
Abundant Abyss.
Abundant Abyss. Yeah. So the passive is essentially when you get energy or health drops, there's a chance that they'll be 200% more effective. So you're kind of increasing the yield of what the enemies are leaving behind, be it their energy or their life essence in a health orb. So those pickups will have a chance to just be much, much stronger. So similar if you're using things like Arcane, I think it's Arcane Pulse or Arcane Energize. You'll be able to get us just a stronger payoff from energy and health.
Her passive is Energize.
No cooldown on it once it triggers, I think.
One of the massive changes is, of course, the pet rework. Pets no longer die, but get incapacitated. All pet mods are also getting reworked, as pet mods that used to help with bleed out and reviving have been changed to reducing the incapacitation period. For example, spare parts has changed, and instead of your sentinel dying, it scans a priority target for you to kill it to drop more loot. Along with the reworked pet mods, they're also getting new mods. And pets are also getting a stat boost, so they're going to be ever so slightly beefier. Hydroid, the useless frame, is finally getting a rework, making him actually look good. TLDR is going to be like if Saren and Hildren had a child. His new passive buffs corrosive status effects on enemies, where the first proc will strip 50% of their armor, meaning at max stacks you fully strip enemies. Basically, the old corrosion mechanic. His first ability will have better target acquisition while changing the impact damage to corrosive damage and the status effect. Essentially, his augment becoming the ability. The new augment will be Viral Tempest, and it will have a chance to apply the viral status effect alongside your corrosive damage. Because if ferrite armored enemies are fully stripped, they take neutral damage from corrosive, so viral being there in the augment will increase the damage. Tidal Surge, the second ability, is the same mechanically, but now has better sunk. Distance travel doesn't scale off duration. It now cleanses you of status effects while also giving you an iframe. Applies corrosion based on how far Hydroid has traveled. The puddle is gone, thank God. It was garbage. It now plunders enemy armor, meaning strips it and grants it to yourself, while also giving your weapons the corrosive elemental damage. You see what I'm saying here when I said this is Saren and Hildren? And the armor strip from Plunder is permanent. The fourth ability still looks lame, but better, as in it's better crowd control than before, the tentacles have better reach, don't flail the enemies around, and deal corrosive damage rather than magnetic. It's not going to be a DPS ability, but a good crowd control tool. Moving on to new player changes and quality of life changes, where they remove flawed mods, making junction tasks better. All your Warframes now have a 30-meter enemy radar passive, and much more.
Flawed mods, however, will be removed and exchanged for
the real ones.
The real ones, with some rank adjustments at the lower level, so players can actually use them early on.
That's good.
The only flawed mod that's not going away is the April Fool's ammo drum. Then we've also added universal enemy radar, which means any player that plays, you will have a 30-meter enemy radar as a built-in function of the game. You don't need to mod or upgrade for that. Obviously, your mods and upgrades will enhance it and make it bigger and better, but just as a default playstyle improvement, especially for new players that don't really know the intricacies of where enemies hide in levels or
improve
visibility,
it. I'm not touching 30 meters.
Yeah,
I'm not modding that shit ever
when you
again.
can tell where enemies are. So we didn't really want to keep gating that behind what right now is mostly animal instinct, which takes a while for a new player to get to. So we just felt like it was important to have kind of this by default, and then you can make it even larger if you want with animal instinct or whatever.
With the quality of life segment, you can now change it so that enemies and allies are highlighted in missions. You can of course change the intensity in the settings.
For those that have a real hard time seeing these games, a lot of people at TennoCon came up and said, this is one, like, they're vision impaired and they were hoping for more in this.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
Better conservation tracking. Auto melee. Just hold the melee button and the frame will automatically perform melee combos. If you press escape and hover over the buffs and cooldowns, it shows you what they do. Weapons with unique passives are displayed in the modding screen. And moving on to one of the biggest changes, shield buffs and shield gating changes.
So shields basically, shields have always been like less preferred than health and armor. Most people don't put in redirection, things like that. And we felt like they needed some love. Right now you're bizarrely incentivized to have lower shields. So that shield gate can activate faster. Which really kind of works against kind of what you would expect, that having more shields should make shields stronger. So we're doing several changes. Starting with shield gate will now scale based on how many shields you have. So if you're around 350 shields, 360, something like that, you have the exact same shield gate duration as you have on live right now. Anything above, it grows all the way to 2.5. I think the one in live right now is 1.33. You can get all the way to 2.5.
Yo, that's
huge! So that means that shield gate duration can actually last quite a bit. Not only that, but right now, the way it works in live, if you have regenerated 1% of your shields or 99% of your shields, you get the same shield duration, the bottom one. We changed it so now it actually grows linearly. So if you're at 50% shields, you're going to get half the shield gate duration.
That's actually good!
Just the lower one. So
oh my god!
It is way better protection now.
It would
this changes everything!
Shield regen and a bigger shield capacity.
The other change that came with that is right now
that's a buff to a lot of frames.
On the live build, diminish all damage taken by 25%, We bumped that up to 50%, so essentially you now have
Frost
a
got
33%
buffed.
bonus there of
Hildren,
damage.
Harrow.
And the main reason for that is sometimes shield feel like paper and they just kind of disappear
Yeah.
very quickly. So we just want to make them a little more resistant.
And
That's
this
good.
applies to companion shields as well, which is why the EHP buff may have felt very large, and that's because shields now mitigate more damage.
Adios Dragon Key,
As a
yes.
stat.
But Grendel got nerfed.
Obviously, for anyone that uses the famous Decaying Dragon Key,
Yes.
you can think of yourself, well, if it scales with the size of my shields, that means the Decaying Dragon Key no longer works. And that is true. The Decaying Dragon Key strategy is pretty bad now. So what we did is we basically made it into, we did the classic make a change into a feature. So we now have a mod that essentially does what the old Dragon Key did. Sets your shield gate to 1.33 because it's exactly what we have on live, and it reduces your shields by to 25% of what they were. So it essentially does the same, but now you have to pay a mod slot for it.
Yeah, and I think for that, we are giving the mod away for an alert for the week after launch. So Dagath will launch
Nice.
that new mod, which is a corrupted mod. It will be put in the
Yeah.
corrupted vaults where you get your
Just
other
don't
corrupted
run
mods.
just-
But
just
for 1
have
week,
more
up for
shields
free
now.
in an alert completely.
All
Let me
right?
go to my screen, my gameplay real quick, Danny.
There it is.
Catalyzing shields.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
13
And I think the big
capacity.
reason for this is the best way to survive in Warframe as we continue to make this game shouldn't be use a gear item from 10 years ago that reduces your shields, because we added shield gating 3 years ago, and both those things happen to work really well together. I love that. I love that players figured it out, but it's not intuitive at all, and it's not very accessible, and it honestly can be a little
Thunder
off-putting.
armor? It's
Like,
the
hey,
Hydroid
the
stuff
best
you
way
missed.
to survive is to
You
use
missed
this
it.
gear item that happens to work, which is cool. Like, emergent gameplay is cool, and I love that. But we want it to formalize it, ratify it, and make it a true intended shields are actually good system. Versus
All right,
don't
boys.
use-
They're also changing Warframe's defensive and energy stats and normalizing them. And now mods are turning into a multiplier, boosting the 100% value of your core stats. Basically, they're still doing the same thing. However, it's just easier to understand now. For example, a 100% vitality mod, increasing your 300 base health, is still 740. Just turn the mod into a multiplier state. 100% is 2 times, so 370 health times 2 is 740. Just take all the defensive stats and multiply it by 2. That's what the mods will be doing. And one of the quality of lives that I was always advocating for, changing your Incarnon perks in the arsenal. Like, how was this not even implemented from the beginning? So these were some of the most important things that were covered in the dev stream. If you want to see more, I will be providing the link to the entire forum post with every single detail that you need to know. Anyway, folks, that has been it from me. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace. Bye-bye now.